multiple opportunities. No. And this meeting is being recorded, as it says on the slide, just so you're aware of that. And then all the meeting materials in the recording will be put up on the website, which is shown right there, which is a2gov.org/Earhart 2023. All right, next slide. And then these are some typical meeting norms that we want to put out there for all of our meetings. It's basically, let's be nice to each other and be respectful of one another. So we ask all of you to avoid speculation. If you have questions about something, that's what we're here for. That's what the staff is here for. We want you to understand the ins and outs of this project so you can make decisions about it and form your opinion about it. And we'd like to hear from you too. So if you do have questions or don't fully understand, we really want you to express that so we can clear up anything that's not clear. And then basically everything else that it says on the slide, critique ideas, not people, and then be thoughtful about language and how you speak to other people. All right, next slide. Demographics. So we have started an effort to collect demographic information from people. This is an effort to see who we're reaching, and we want to do this so we understand who we're not reaching, and so we can be more inclusive in our efforts with engagement. So we have a quick poll for you to take, and I'm going to launch that right now. This is anonymous. I'm not going to show the results of this. This is really just for our information. So let me get that up and running. And here we go. And so I'll just give you a minute or two to take that. I always feel that we need a little bit of background music for this poll. Maybe someday we'll do that. All right, we'll give this about another 30 seconds. All right, 5 more seconds, and then I'll end the poll. All right, thank you, everyone. All right, we can go to the next slide. And then this is a technology overview. So we do have the chat feature that's available this time. The chat goes directly to staff. So if you do have a question or just anything that, any kind of input you want to give, you can do that. You can also raise your hand, and that's at the bottom of the screen, as you can see, under reactions. So you go into reactions, and then you can raise your hand if you'd like to say something. If you're on the phone, and I don't think we have anybody on the phone right now, but if you do get booted off, or, you know, I know how that goes, where, you know, your internet might crash and you need to rejoin by using the phone. If you raise your hand, then you hit *9. And then I'll turn it over to Cynthia.
Great, thanks, Heather. As Heather said, we've got this short portion of our meeting that's dedicated to our welcome and our overview and our introductions. Then we're going to get into a little bit of the history of the corridor, particularly public participation history for this corridor. And then we'll discuss what our meeting objectives are for today. And then we're going to be working on a group exercise, and that group exercise is going to take up the majority of our time today. And then we'll get into next steps for the project. So today, the core team that we have here today are Dave Dykman. He is our project manager for this project. Myself, Cynthia Redinger, I am a transportation engineer with the city, and I'm the transportation engineer assigned to this project. Heather Seyfarth, who we were just listening to, she is one of our planners in systems planning. And we also have Andrea Wright, who is helping us with our public engagement efforts and project organization. So Heather and Andrea are both working pretty heavily in our public participation for this project. I'd also like to acknowledge that we have Raymond Hess with us today. He is the transportation manager, and he's here to listen. And we have Cyrus Nahidi, who is with us as well, and he is here to support the rest of the staff. So the first thing that we as staff want to understand about today is who we're talking to. And so we're going to be launching a poll. And we really want you to tell us about who you are, because we're not looking at that demographic information. So we want to know a little about you and your perspectives. So if we can go ahead and launch that poll. Andrea, are you finding it? Thank you. And just let us know. You can, for that second question, you can pick as many different items as relate to you. So we really want to understand who our audience is and what your perspectives are. We'll give that just a little bit more time so that everybody has the opportunity to submit their responses. And I just want to reiterate that on that second question, you can select as many of those items as apply to you today. We'll give it about 10 more seconds. All right. Let's go ahead and close that poll out. And we do have a couple of comments that have come in, if you would mind sharing the results as well. And one of those is that they are an intermittent driver, because they are a retired individual. And then we have another individual who's has let us know that they do not identify as anything in category number 2. If you would like to share with us what what it is that you are, we would love to hear that too. So it looks like we have some representation from individuals who live adjacent to the project area and who don't live in the city. We have some parents or guardians. We've got commuters, both daily and hybrid, pedestrians and bicyclists. And all right, okay. So it looks like we don't have an answer to that question, but that's fine. All right, thanks everyone. It's good to know what our composition is as we get into our discussions. So I want to give you a little bit of a history on this corridor, particularly the public participation process that has historically happened in this corridor. The project is slated for construction in 2023. So we're really at the very early edge of our project. And this will be Earhart from the southern Green Hills intersection all the way up to the bridge over US 23. And there is a project that will be going next summer that is for that southern section of Earhart. So I just want to make sure that we don't have confusion there. And we are very early in the project process for this 2023 project. So a little bit of a history on the corridor is that we have had lots and lots of different public participation that has happened for Earhart throughout the years. And we wanted to start with the 2013 update to our non-motorized plan. So at that point in time, the plan called for installing bicycle lanes on Earhart. And that was public policy, city policy that was in place. In 2018, city staff conducted a technical review of a variety of different lane configuration changes that were established in that 2013 plan. And some of those have been installed, some of those have not been installed to date. So that was the last time a technical review of the corridor was conducted. And in 2019, the city started in February an update to our comprehensive transportation plan. At that point in time, the transportation plan was being updated to bring in those non-motorized elements as well, so that it would be a single consolidated transportation plan. Around that same time frame, we were still looking at doing some paint and post type project for the Earhart corridor. And staff reached out to the community in 2019. And that was the last time that a project-based engagement happened in this corridor. That project did not move forward. So also in 2019, later in the year in November, we were able to produce our Mobility in Ann Arbor fact book, which is available on the city's website. And we, as part of the transportation plan update, a bicycle open house was also conducted as part of the transportation plan update in November. And the A20 process kicked off. So that's our sustainability plan. And so 2019 was a very busy year for the city. The next thing that's important to know is that in 2020, the A20 sustainability plan was unanimously adopted by council. And we reference that here because it's important as we are moving our projects forward to keep in mind those sustainability goals, particularly the reduction in vehicle miles traveled that plan calls for, and the need for transportation alternatives. In 2021, the draft transportation plan was brought forward in January, and then in June of 2021, A2 Moving Together, or Ann Arbor Moving Together Towards Vision Zero, which is its full name, the transportation plan was unanimously adopted by council. And now here we are in December of 2021, and we are kicking off our project for this construction. I'm just noticing that we do have a comment that one of our individuals wants to know that they are sometimes a pedestrian and that they do drive, but they're not a commuter.
And Cynthia, we have a hand raised if you're ready for questions.
Sure. Lindsay, go right ahead.
I put it in the chat, but I also received notification that there are some folks still waiting. I don't know if you can still let them into the meeting. I'm the on-site property manager for Earhart Village, so all of the co-owners have access to me.
Okay.
Yeah, and I don't see anybody waiting in the list of participants.
Okay.
But maybe others on the team, can you double check that?
Yeah, she emailed me at 12:10.
I let everyone in as they pop up. Are they sure they're in the right meeting? I know that there's 2 Zoom links right now, one for the 6 p.m. one and one for the 12 p.m. one up on the website. Maybe that's what's going on, but as of right now, everyone's in.
Okay, thank you so much. I'll resend the link to her.
Okay, great. And if she does get in late, we can take some time at the end to cover the material that she missed. All right, so I want to talk about what it is that the project team is hoping to get out of today. And as we are really early in our design process for this project, as in we haven't even started the design for this project yet, we have 3 things that we really want to understand. So at the end of this meeting, we want to understand how you currently travel through this corridor, how you want to travel through this corridor, and what are the barriers that are preventing you from traveling the way that you want to through this corridor. So the first 2 questions are a little bit easier, so we're going to poll on those. We can go ahead and launch that second poll. So we've just launched a poll that that you can participate in, and we are asking how you currently travel in the corridor. And you can make multiple selections. You can choose as many items as apply to you. And just as with our previous poll, we'll hold this for about 2 minutes total so that we can give everybody a chance to read through those options. I realize there are a lot of options in there. And for those of us who have joined a little bit late, I do want to let you know that the chat is functional in this meeting. When you use the chat, you will be contacting staff. So that only comes to staff. If you have any questions at any point, you can feel free to send us a note in chat or raise your hand. All right, let's go ahead and share those poll results with everyone. So we have lots of people who are walking and using and we've got folks who are using transit, who are bicycling, and let's see here. We also have someone, or we have some response that we have some other personal motorized vehicle. And I was wondering if anyone who responded with that would be willing to share what it is that they're using, because I'm curious. Either raising your hand or you can just shout out. Lindsay.
We have a company vehicle, so I put that in that category.
Oh, okay. Is that something other than a standard vehicle? Like, is it a golf cart or is it just?
We have both. We have a truck, and then we have something other than a standard vehicle.
Okay. All right. That's good to know. Thank you. Okay. I think we can stop sharing. And we have one other poll before we get to our group work. So we want to know, now that you've told us how you're currently traveling in the corridor, we want to know how you would like to travel in the corridor. And that is, maybe you have a current barrier to a way that you want to travel, but there's a different way you'd like to travel. So we can go ahead and start poll 3. And we'll take a couple minutes to let everybody get that information in as well. And for those of you who may have joined us more recently, we have a poll that is active, and we would like you to tell us how you would like to be able to travel in the project corridor. And you can choose as many options as apply to you. Is that everyone? We'll give it just a few more seconds. I think we have most people. Right. I think we're good to close the poll and share the results. Right, so we have a high level interest in walking, moderate level of interest in riding a bicycle. We have folks who are interested in transit, and we have folks who are interested in using a personal vehicle. All right, thank you. And these polls are something that we as staff will look at those results and in a side-by-side comparison to see if there's a disconnect between how people are currently traveling and how they want to be traveling. But what we really want to do is talk about the barriers that you might currently be experiencing. So this is where we're going to do this in a group exercise. We will be dividing into 2 equal groups, and all ideas are welcome in the group. And we're going to be using card storming to organize our group ideas. What is card storming? Well, card storming is a process that enables everyone to get their ideas out onto sticky notes and it gives the group a way to organize those ideas. And I have sticky notes and quotes here because if we were able to meet in person and sit around a table together, we would literally be using a stack of sticky notes and a pile of pens to complete this process, and sticking them up on the wall and moving them around and such. Since we do not have that luxury right now, and in the interest of keeping everyone safe, we are going to be doing this exercise electronically. We will be using a tool called Jamboard, and we'll talk about that a little bit more as we get into our groups. But some key tips as far as the process goes are all of your ideas are welcome. And we will give all participants some quiet time to put out your thoughts. And then the group will have an opportunity to work together to sort those ideas into themes. You know, as people put ideas out there, there will become natural groupings of shared ideas that we'll be able to put into themes. And your breakout room facilitator will help you with that. So everyone will be given the link to Jamboard. It is it's a Google product, and you'll be able to go in and put in your own thoughts onto sticky notes. And then after we have some time for everybody to work on that, the facilitator will start moving the cards around. So we ask you to not move anybody else's sticky note and only let the facilitator do that. That way, if someone is trying to cross-reference their ideas, their note doesn't move on them. Does anybody have any questions before we break out into our breakout rooms? And I did notice we do have a couple of questions in chat, so let me cross-reference that before we do that. We have a note that says, I assume that you mean during construction. So I'm not quite sure what that was referencing. So Norma, if you want to raise your hand up to get some clarification on that, I'd love to give you the clarification that you need. Norma, go ahead. You can unmute yourself. And that will be down at the bottom on your
I
bar.
assumed the questionnaires, the polls were regarding during construction. Is that correct or no?
No, excuse me. No, that's not during construction. That is just how you travel generally, because we're at the very beginning of our process for this project, and we really want to understand how people currently travel in the corridor, how people desire to travel in the corridor, and what the community values for this project are as we move into design. So we have not developed design at this point. We are in a very preliminary stage on this project.
Thank you.
And you're welcome. Go ahead and mute. And then we also have a note that what's missing from these polls is how often a mode is exercised. And that is a level of detail that we're not collecting at this point in time. We want to know what your interests are. So if you walk, then you have the perspective of a pedestrian in the corridor, and that's what we're interested in. And we also know if you want to be able to walk and if you do have any barriers to that. So we're going to go ahead and move into our breakout session, and we have lots of time for this exercise. So we have lots of time for everyone to feel comfortable in this exercise. With the Jamboard, you would need to open a browser to directly participate. If you're not comfortable with that, you'll be able to use the chat function to provide thoughts to your facilitators, and then they will be able to put those thoughts on sticky notes for you. So let's go ahead and break up into our breakout sessions. We're really excited to work with you on this and hear what your thoughts are for the corridor.
And bear with me just a moment while I get these set up.
Yeah,
Sorry.
so when we get into the breakout session, your facilitator will put a link to the Jamboard in your chat, because we're able to send a chat out to everyone. And then you can just click that link. Or like I said, if you just want to use the in-Zoom chat, your facilitator will also be sharing the Zoom board for your meeting, for your breakout room. And then you'll be able to see what's going on with the board as well. All right, here we go.
Okay, it doesn't look like I'm going into a.
No, you'll
breakout.
have to stay in the main room.
Oh, okay.
Someone does. See on the flip side?
All right.
Did you send me somewhere?
It didn't look like you were even listed on here, so maybe, I don't know.
Oh
if
no,
you
is
can-
that because I'm the host?
I wonder.
Do I have to make you the host?
Transfer it to me, Cynthia.
Okay, I'll make Andrea the host. Sorry. Yes, I want to change Andrea to the host. Okay, now you can send me.
Okay. Cynthia assigned to,
So Heather, do you want to come with me then?
I'm assigning you to room 2. I'll see if I can jump in. I don't know if I can assign myself since I created the rooms. I'll jump in if I can. Okay, welcome back, everyone.
Yeah. How did it go? Anybody want to give us some reactions? Did you enjoy it? Did you not enjoy it? Thumbs up, thumbs down. Yeah. Got some nods, some thumbs up. That's good. I'm glad. I'm glad to hear that. So this was our group of staff. This was our first time hosting this kind of a participation exercise electronically, and I want to thank you all for handling our bumps along the way with grace. And I'm excited. I think it worked, at least in our group. I think it worked out pretty well. So we're going to have group report outs. Cyrus, your group. Well, you and Dave. Do you have you identified who is doing your report out?
We haven't, but I'm happy to summarize the Jamboard and we can. I assume you mean by report out either me or Dave, or do you want to, or is there someone?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. If somebody in your group decided they wanted to, I don't know.
We haven't had the discussion, but Dave helped organize the feedback by themes. So we have a few different themes. One is the
Cyrus, do you want to share your board?
Oh, sure.
Or Dave?
Yeah, I'm pulling up the window and minimizing all the others. So, okay. Okay, I'm actually not able to from my Zoom settings. So Dave, why don't you, since you were sharing yours earlier?
Hang on a second. I got some stuff I gotta clean up here so I can get to it, and I'll share it here.
Okay, we'll go ahead and talk while he's sharing it.
So the first theme you'll see when the Jamboard comes up to the left is the condition of the road surface, which is good feedback, given that we are going to be doing a road project here and a large part of that is to improve the condition of the roads. The second category, there's 4 comments. The 3 yellow and 1 blue comment are all kind of pedestrian related. So either related to additional sidewalks or improvements at crosswalks for flashing lights, which in our engineering, the engineering term for those flashing lights is a rectangular rapid flashing beacon. Those are the flashing yellow lights that you see around town that I think are being referred to here. Specifically accommodating a street crossing near the schools, especially King School and St. Paul's and Green Hill condos. And a note there about how the speed limit, traffic is driving above the speed limit to make that crossing more difficult. And then the last comment is sort of a combination of pedestrian and bicycle, which is potential for a shared use facility. Third column relates to the maintenance of the vegetation and essentially maintenance of the lawn extension area that impacts some of these other issues. Ingress and egress from the schools and subdivisions is our 4th column. 5th column relates to city bus service and potentially the design of the road for potentially bus pullover stops. And our last column relates to speeding. So lowering the speed limit and better enforcement. And then the issue of vehicle speeds and higher traffic volumes during peak hours. So
Okay, great.
hopefully,
Thanks.
hopefully that's a fair summary. If Dave or anyone else feels that I missed something or mischaracterized, please share.
All right. Thanks for that, Cyrus. I'm going to ask you to stop sharing and I'll bring up our board real quick. We have very similar results. So we have, and I'm going to ask Cyrus and Dave to go back and put labels on their themes for me so that we have that later. We have so we have a large number of comments on sidewalk quality and conditions and ways to improve that. We also got a good number of comments about the bridge over US 23, which is the Michigan Department of Transportation's bridge, and how that can be a barrier to different types of travel through the corridor. We also had some comments about pavement quality, and we had a good number of comments about vehicle speed. We have some comments about, we characterize this as behaviors, and it has to do with lack of yielding of drivers to other modes, specifically pedestrians and crosswalks, and also concerns about general lack of enforcement on Gettys, which is both related to pedestrians and speeding, which is why it's sitting over here next to speeding. We have a variety of comments about bicycle lanes. We have some strong interest in bicycle lanes and having them there, but concerns about whether or not they're going to be connected to other things. And we have concerns about how those will function and whether they're the safest option. We also have a bunch of comments about intersection operations and some possible opportunities down there. So we've categorized those and kind of lumped them together because they're similar themed, although they're not all the same, but a lot of concern about left turns, a suggestion of a roundabout, and concerns about some of the intersections that are two-way stop controlled, which is just side street stop control, that are very wide and just ambiguous and lack of understanding of those. And then we also have a comment that was just information about the recent construction and the impacts that the construction on Getty's, that detour, had on the corridor. So I want to thank everyone for having participated in that. And we ended up using the majority of our time. So that's good, right? That's good. We want to use our time, and we had lots of good discussion in our breakout room. So I do want to go ahead and, sorry, here we go. We've done our report out, and I want to make sure I get this slide up here so we can talk about some next steps in the project. So as we've mentioned several times throughout the process of this meeting, we're a very preliminary part of the project timeline, and we are just kicking off public engagement. So public engagement is going to go starting now, but it'll go through winter and through to spring 2022. We'll have multiple opportunities for engagement through the project development. And then the design is anticipated to kick off in spring 2022 and go into winter 2022. And then construction will begin in spring of 2023. So in the near term, we have the public meeting that's happening right now. We will have a second version of this public meeting this evening. And both of those meetings are being recorded and will be available on the website. And the Jamboard from our breakout sessions will also be available on our website. And then for folks who are not able to participate in either this session or this evening session, but are able to go on the website and take a look at that introductory level, that introductory portion of this meeting, and then they can go online and take an online survey, which is going to be available starting tomorrow through December 16th. So if you know someone who wasn't able to make one of the meetings but wants to give some input, they'll be able to do that. And there will also be a theming session that occurs with the input that we get from that meeting. Our project manager, once again, is Dave Dykman, and here is his contact information. And here is another opportunity to see what the project website is. Updates will be posted on our website. And if anyone has any additional questions, I'd love to hear those. I haven't had the chat open.
Yeah, there's a few that came in through chat.
So I'm going.
The first one is there a vehicle for making comments on this workshop? So if you want to put anything in the chat, you're welcome to do that now. That goes directly to staff. Or if you want to follow up with the project manager and provide comments to him, there's his email right there. You can provide that information. And then the second one is, it reads, is the design of the South Earhart project to be completed in 2022 finalized?
Finalized, I don't believe that is out to bid. Andrea might be able to help me out with that, but I do not believe it is finalized yet.
That is
The
not out to
project-
bid at this time.
Thank you, Andrea. Yeah,
It
and the
is-
project,
That was my question, because it seems to me that whatever is going to be done in that project would have an effect on
Mhm.
this 2023 project. If you're going to have bike lanes in there, then why wouldn't you have bike lanes in the 2023 project? So it seems like it's kind of an important part of this discussion. And so I figured I'd ask that, but do we know anything about the design of that? I mean, is that something that can be shared?
yeah,
Cynthia, I just want to point out that there is funding differences between the two and clear requirements that the 2022 project has to meet, because we are receiving federal funds for that. So when we, and Cynthia, if you want to add more to that, but when we request funds, we have to meet certain criteria based off of the ones that we've been approved to receive. So Cynthia, you know a little bit more about that, so I'll pass it back to you.
I'm actually not exactly sure where you were going with that, but I can say that the bike lanes are planned for that southern section.
Okay.
Yeah, they
Well,
are
that
part of
makes
the
sense.
design.
Yeah, that makes sense then. So that answers the question. So if are going to be bike lanes from Getty's Road to up to South Green Hills, that has an impact upon whether, we no longer will be dealing with the problem of bike lanes to nowhere. Then we can have contiguous bike lanes going all through the road. So
Yes,
it's good
that
to
is
hear
true.
that. It's good to hear that. It makes it seem more possible that we will either have shared usage lanes for pedestrians and bikes, or at least bike lanes going from Getty's Road, hopefully to Plymouth.
Yeah, although I would also like to point out that quite often, things do get done in a little bit of a piecemeal manner because they get constructed as a project comes through. And you see that often with like sidewalks. As a new project is being developed, then the sidewalk gets installed as part of that project. And sometimes it ends up looking like it's piecemeal, but there is an overarching policy and plan that all of those items are building towards. Let's see here.
How about
Yes.
roundabouts? Is there a roundabout at the South Green Hills intersection with Earhart as part of the 2022 project?
The 2022 project stops south of Green Hills. So the design of that Green Hills intersection will be part of this project.
I see.
And that project is in the process of getting its design finalized, and it is expected. It's in the process of consolidating that design and moving it forward. One of the things that Andrea did mean, my brain is clicking, as far as the different funding source, is that there are federal funds that are involved in that southern project. So it will go through an MDOT bid process because those federal funds are being involved. And this northern section is a local only project. So it will be bid through the city of Ann Arbor. It will not have to go through the MDOT processes.
What's
Well, this-
different about the southern portion that would allow it to have federal funds?
I don't have an answer to that question. Dave, do you happen to know the answer to that question?
I don't believe there's really any distinct differences other than the fact that that project had been allocated through, there's a process through the planning commission that we are party to, which is SEMCOG, where we do a transportation improvement plan. It's a 5-year plan, and monies were allocated to that project some time ago. So where this project, I think, is being funded primarily by the streets, the city's street and sidewalk millage, and potentially some county millage money.
Okay, so is it fair to say that this 2023 project will be more of a road resurfacing project and less of a implementing a major change in the intersections?
No, not necessarily. We're using the input that we received today and at future meetings to help guide what the project overall entails.
Okay,
Obviously,
so
there'll
the
be some
budget might
funding,
allow
there'll be some funding limitations, obviously, with any project. You only have so much
I see.
money to spend, but
All right, thanks.
those things are certainly open for consideration.
And we've also had a comment in the chat that is asking about the design and what the process is going to be with the design. And as we stated at several points, and I just want to reiterate that we are very early in the design process, and it's not off. A lot of times we don't have a public participation activity this early in a design process. So we're really, what our goal is right now is to really understand what the how the community is moving through the corridor, how the community wants to move through the corridor, if that's different than the way they're moving through the corridor right now, and what some of those barriers to travel are for folks who are using this corridor right now, and using those thoughts that we receive from the community to really sort of establish what those values are for the project as we're moving forward, so that we can look at design alternatives that are aligned with those values that we're receiving from the community, as well as being aligned with the policy documents that we currently have in place with the city. All right, well, we are currently 5 minutes over, and we do want to respect everyone's time. And so I want to say thank you all so much for joining us over your lunch, and giving us all of your thoughts and considerations, so that we have them as we're moving forward on this project. So thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody.